In this video, I'm going to ask you questions about the anatomy of the ear, give you a chance to think of the answer, and then I'll tell you. If you want to know what kind of terms I'm going to be talking about in this video, just look in the description. I have a word bank. The entire earlobe and this hole, and there's a thing at the end of the hole, a little piece of tissue. The entire earlobe can either be called the auricle, A-U-R-I-C-L-E, or pinna. This hole, you probably learned when you did the skull, is the external auditory meatus. And at the end of that, we'll look at it a little closer in a bit, is your eardrum, but you should probably learn the term tympanic membrane. Now, behind your tympanic membrane, there's a space. What do we call that whole empty space? And then there's this tube that leads to the back of the throat, kind of right behind your nose. So this space is the middle ear, also called the tympanic cavity. So when you're told you have a middle ear infection, you have an infection in your tympanic cavity. This tube can be called a lot of things. The older name is the eustachian tube. There's also the pharyngotympanic tube. Pharyngotympanic because your throat is your pharynx and it leads to your pharynx. Or the easiest and I think the most preferable name, the auditory tube. Now, if I turn him around, what is this hole? So that hole is the internal auditory meatus, which you probably learned when you did the skull. And what is coming out of that hole? What is that yellow thing? That is the vestibulocochlear nerve, nerve number 8. So, I have borrowed what is this? That's a tympanic membrane. I borrowed him from another model. Tell me what this is and that. So this is the incus next to the malleus, and the malleus goes down through here and connects onto the tympanic membrane. And what is the third ossicle, which we cannot see here? The third ossicle that we cannot see is the stapes. So this has 3 major regions, this, and that snail shell area. What do you call the 3 regions? And also, what do you call the entire thing? So the entire thing is the bony labyrinth. This part, the snail shell part, is the cochlea. The ring part are the semicircular canals. The centerpiece that kind of connects those 2 areas is the vestibule. So now that we think about that, it should be easier to remember why this is the vestibulocochlear nerve. This is the cochlear branch, obviously. This part going to the vestibule is the vestibular branch, and when they come together, they make the vestibulocochlear nerve. This here is actually the facial nerve, but we don't care about that for the ear. Alright, so we said that the rings are the semicircular canals, and they've kind of cut this ring open so we can see inside of it. what is this blue thing? What is the lump on the end of the blue thing? And what sensory organ does the lump contain? So the blue thing is the semicircular duct. The lump is the ampulla, and inside of the ampulla is the cristae, also called the cristae ampullaris. And that is the sensory organ which gives you your sense of dynamic equilibrium. These two things are actually a part of the vestibule. This one is the utricle. This one is the saccule. I just remember for this model, Australia, because it's AUS, ampulla, utricle, saccule. The utricle and saccule also contain a sensory organ. What is it? So they contain a sensory organ called the macula, and the macula gives you your sense of static equilibrium. There are 3 ducts contained within the cochlea, and I'm going to be honest that we might teach this in a way that I don't know that the manufacturer intended this, but this is just how we do it. There's this duct, and the lower duct. So just think of like 3 spirals all curled on top of each other. And to remember which is which, just remember very concerned toddlers. So very for the vestibular duct, concerned for the cochlear duct, and the lower duct is the tympanic duct. Sometimes you might also see them listed as scala, so it would be scala vestibuli, scala media for the cochlear duct, or scala tympani for the lower duct. Either name is fine. All right, and then last questions are the easiest ones. What is this yellow area and that yellow area? This is the oval window. This is the round window. All right, that's all the questions I can think of, but that is certainly not everything that could be asked about the ear. Hope it was helpful. Have a great day and have fun learning.